Avenue 50 studio. My name is Angelina Sainz. I am your host for this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. And I want to welcome Melissa Bennett. Thank you so much, amiga, who is joining us from Olympia, Washington. Is that right, Melissa?
Yeah.
Okay. And so really quickly, I just want to share what inspired me to invite Melissa today. Melissa and I were in workshop together at the Macondo Writers Workshop. When I read her submission, I was a little shaken because it directly related to my personal life. At that time, my teenage son was suicidal. And as a family, we were, really supporting him in his mental health. This is the first time I'm mentioning this publicly because there is a stigma attached to being suicidal and struggling with mental health, but also because I didn't share it when it was happening because I really wanted to address what was happening with him, in a cultural, historical, Chicano boy context, right? And through deep prayer, emotional support, and considering our intergenerational trauma. My parents have mental health issues. And so I was really looking at like whole self-healing. I didn't talk to anybody about it. So when I read Melissa's work, I was like, oh my God, that really, because she did work in a mental health institution and was really, as a chaplain, and was really seeing things through and you're looking at Indigenous patients, all the patients, but in particular, the Native patients through the eyes as an Indigenous woman, and understanding that what is happening to us is an understandable reaction to the reality that we live in this country. And so, one time with my son, as we were sitting in the psychiatric waiting room at Kaiser, he read a pamphlet on schizophrenia and was like, oh, I fit this criteria. And, they wanted to medicate him, and that everything is understandable. I'm not here to be against anything. I'm just saying that I was waging a spiritual battle for my son to integrate and normalize all of the dimensions he was experiencing. And we weren't going to deal with what was going on strictly with Western medicine. And when I read Melissa's submission, I completely identified with it. And we ended up having a really long conversation over lunch about, mental health and our centuries of trauma that explains a lot about, why we lose our fucking minds. And, I just want you to know that with our help, with prayer, with counseling, my son is doing great and has completely overcome that difficult time and all of those symptoms. And it may happen again. We're not afraid of it. And we'll just do a spiritual battle, with it again. But really, Melissa's work echoes that family, very personal family struggle that we went through. And I just want to read just a very quick poem that I read of hers that, a year ago last summer. And it's called Medicine. On the ground, in the sweat, face in the dirt, heart on the earth, cedar steam rising. Her story showed up in the hiss of the pour, the red glow of rocks, the thick black dark. She had been here before, in this state hospital of crazy, 50 years ago, housed and drugged in this place. 3 months, once, 2 months, a second time, doing her laundry, taking her pills, cooperating quietly, like a good woman should. 10 milligrams of Meloril, 25 milligrams of Meloril, 75 milligrams of Meloril, antipsychotic drugs for a woman with no trace of psychosis. So this is an example of what I read, 10 pages of amazing poetry. So let me introduce this mujer increíble, Melissa Bennett. Umatilla, Nez Perce, Sac and Fox, Anishinaabe, is a writer, storyteller, story listener, educator, and spiritual care provider. She currently lives on the lands of the Medicine Creek treaty tribes at the southern tip of the Salish Sea. Melissa is interested in story as medicine, especially its ability to heal historical trauma among Indigenous communities. Twice nominated for the Pushcart Prize, Melissa writes poetry and essay with the focus on ancestral medicine, culture, place, tradition, and faith. She was a 2015 recipient of the Evergreen State College Longhouse Native Creative Development Grant, has previously published with Yellow Medicine Review, Indigenous Goddess Gang, and the Third Thing Press. She is a member of the Macondo Writers Workshop, an association of socially engaged writers working to advance creativity, foster generosity, and serve community. You can find her on Instagram at Rev Melly. So, having said all of that, thank you so much for being here, and take it away.
All right. Thank you for that. That was really sweet and really beautiful. And for you to share your story and the way that our stories connected in that moment, I think is really powerful. So the story of this work, or a lot of these pieces I'm going to read today, when I used to work at this forensic mental health facility in Salem, Oregon, and while I was working there, I found out that my grandmother had also been a patient at that hospital. And I was there doing like ceremony and spiritual care work with Native people in this place where my grandmother had been incarcerated. And so I started writing these pieces about that story and what it was like to hold all of that together. So I'm going to read some poems about that. This one is called Trauma. It's a short little poem. The bath water is getting cold. I haven't played with a kitten in days. It is nearly 1 a.m. and I'm afraid to sleep, afraid of the grandmothers who chase after me in dreams. I have come too close to their secrets. And this piece is in The Illuminated Space by Marilyn Freeman, which is one of the Third Thing Press books, and it opens the book. It's called Thirsty. They came with their stories, praying hard for our histories, lying belly down on the ground inside the womb. Tiakshpam, Wise Susami, Sarah, Esther, Marianne, Karen, Melissa. In my bones, under my skin, the women housed 7 generations. I name the criminally insane on land where I sweat, in water where I weep. I miss bourbon almost every day. The water, choosh, all I have left. I'm thirsty. The mothers, grandmothers stick in my throat. Holy underground, all mystery and cold. My starry night. I smell onions in my blood. Hunger for nostalgia. Nowhere I look is home.
My snaps. Here are my snaps for you, homegirl.
Thank you.
I'm snapping for everybody. I'll snap for everyone who's with us.
I appreciate the snaps from everyone. This one is called Church, and I want to show it. Hopefully y'all can see it. So it's shaped like an upside down cross. So I want that people to understand that and keep that in mind while I'm reading this poem. Church. And because the candles aren't working and the tears of the old ones stain the floor, I crawl into the dark with the medicine. Cedar, rose, huckleberry, sage, salmon, water, talatat, tamsasnim siwe, semetek, kemkem, tanat, chush. I cleanse the grief of my womb there. This next one is called Ghost Trail. And this was one of my Makono poems that y'all helped me turn upside down. Ghost Trail. Tsetsanim. The ones who make us crazy, the ones from before, mother's mother, Katsa, mother, Itza, one ghost, many women, a figure, a shape, a cloud, form, droplets of blood, fragments of femur, crematory ashes, rise up in the cold gray water of the Pacific, at the mouth of the Columbia, in the Blue Mountains, behind the church at Tutuila, secrets they thought were left. This one is Skeleton Woman. Lick the bones I collect. Embrace vulnerability of death. See me. Brown woman, God at my feet, ancestors in belly, earth at fingertips, ocean in back pocket. And then I'll give you this one too. This is called Bell Passy and Blue Mountains. And there's a lot of, I've been to a lot of writing workshops lately, and we do all these like I come from poems, which I feel is a pretty popular prompt to talk about, you know, where do you come from? Who are your people? All these kind of things. So this is my I come from poem. Bell Passy and Blue Mountains. I am from, she gave you up because she loved you, and you know your grandmother was a patient there. I come from between depression glass candy dishes and painted parfleche, grandma's suitcase. From in between chasing ponies, keep the one you catch, and Ouija board nights channeling Jim Morrison until morning. I am from carrot cake shaped like rabbits, Saturday night hamburgers and double chins. I'm from the red stain on your head when you died, blood pooling at your hairline. I come from between snakes poking their heads from the deschutes and 15 bears dancing in the night, rubbing against human legs, singing. From the pedophile who looked like a surfer lost in the desert, and the braids my grandmother kept to transform her 1920s bob into Sacagawea. I come from between bloated cows on grassy hillsides and thunderbirds with hailstones dotting an orange landscape purple. I am from angels in stained glass, wings covering their faces, and quinault strawberries in shallow ground. I come from the center of church attics like sacred caves and ancestors and galaxies of cedar steam. I am made of onions and marionberries, cow tongue and sucking candy. I am nusuk and corn husk bags, red beaded roses and prophetic preachers. I'm from the woman who killed a Confederate soldier with a shovel and the grandfather of the man who became the greatest athlete of all time. I am generations of dead in Blue Mountains and graves beside onion fields in Bell Passy.
Okay. Your words, your images. So good. Thank you. So good. I feel like I'm there, like when I'm listening to you. I'm like, I'm there with all the goodness. So, before crazy town that we're living in right now, it was already crazy town, right? I mean, we're already struggling with so many issues. And so now we're in quarantine, um, whatever turmoil there is, like nationally, and everything's coming to the surface, right? And there's something about being alone, right, for all of us. My boys are with me half of the time, and then the other half of the time I'm home alone. And this whole thing has it's crazy. It's like everything is coming to the surface in our own personal life and then in society. And then we're alone to deal with it, right? We're like, what are we doing? Are we getting on phone calls? Are we getting on Zoom? What are we doing? Are we writing? So I guess that's my question to you, right? It was wild before, this shutdown, and then it just gets like crazier and crazier as the days go by. So my question to you is like, how are you carrying on? What is your art looking like? um, what is your community saying, right? How are you feeling?
It's just me, my mind, and my cats. So that's been scary. I've had dreams where my cats are talking to me. So far, I don't hear them talking back to me like during the day, but I'm sure that's coming. I've purchased a lot of plants and I've named all of my plants. I'm talking to them too. So I
You're
have
not
more.
the first person to say that, by the way.
Good.
Our first poet number one, showed us his plant. So
It is.
this is
So I've got lots of plants. I redecorated my bedroom. So that was some creative energy that came out. I found a couple new therapists, not just one, but two. So I have a somatic therapist and an art therapist now, which is amazing. Because I needed to get out of my head, right? I was like, just my mind is just going and going and going and going. And I had an elder that I worked with when I was at the state hospital. His name was Larry. He passed away a couple years ago. But he used to tell me, he's like, kid, turn down that radio in your head. You got to drop down to your heart, right? So this time of being completely alone for now over 150 days in my apartment, walking around my little block here, because I have chronic illness, and so I'm afraid of like going out and being around people. I've really felt that place of like quieting my mind and dropping down into my heart and into my body. So I've been doing these writing workshops with Carla. I see Carla on here. I'm doing writing workshops with Carla and another friend named Danielle Broadway. We've had a weekend or a Friday night writing group with a lot of her family, which has been really amazing. But finding ways to connect with writing community in a way that I didn't really get to before, right? Because a lot of my writing friends are not here in Olympia. I have a few writing friends here, but most are in other places around the country. And so this has been a nice way to connect with folks. But I've been doing more writing, mostly journaling, drawing in my journals, taking quiet time. Yesterday I did like a full day of no technology at all, which was amazing. I just read a book all day, which I recommend.
That's a good call.
Everything off and just read a book. But yeah, I haven't been editing. When it comes to the productivity of writing and sitting down, my mind is like, oh, I have all this time. I should be working on this manuscript that's been sitting here for the last however many years, right? I should be going back to these poems that I really need to edit and craft in order to build up this manuscript. And I just can't. I'm like, no, that's not where I am. And so I've stopped putting that kind of pressure on me. And instead, I'm like, I just need to write. I just need to get my feelings out on paper, you know? And
Yeah.
I go through my journal, and there's places where my writing is really small and like tight and like controlled. And then there's other pages where it's like one word on a page. Or I broke a pen one night. I was really pissed off, and I like broke a pen. And then I wrote, "This is where I broke the pen."
And the pen was broken.
Yeah, because I think before all of this, I was in a place of, just trying to get by and trying to survive and survive capitalism, which wasn't going so well,
Right.
right?
Right.
And now, in this weird way, I'm quieting down and I'm feeling my feelings more,
Uh-huh.
right? I didn't have the space or the time to feel my feelings before, and now I am. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's coming out through my art writing.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's really, whatever we've heard, I've seen it so many places, like happiness only comes from within, right? And so I feel like with everything that has happened, I can't spend my feelings away. I can't, entertain my feelings away. I can't travel. I can't do jack, right? I'm home. So it's like what you said, like you need to face your shit, right? You need to, I really need to like really learn how to be with my own company. And that kind of restlessness of like, I gotta go. It's like, where do you have to go? Why do you have to go somewhere? What are you trying to get away? So it's this constant like circle of discovery of myself, which, like you said, is crazy because, even for my children, we hustle. So we were hustling hard for years, even my 10-year-old and my teenager. And then everything just stopped and we're building relationships. So it's real interesting, it's like up and down. But well, amiga, thank you so much I love seeing your face. I love hearing your work. I can't wait to be with you again, when we're together to talk and share. So if you could please, end with whatever poems you'd like to, and go for it.
See what I got for you. Oh, this one's a fun one. Okay, this is called Neverland. This is my love poem to J.M. Barrie, the author of Peter Pan. So you remember Tiger Lily?
Yes. Ugh.
This is what I think about that.
Go, girl.
Neverland. J.M. Barrie, you can keep your Tiger Lily. This figment of your imagination, this what you think Indian women ought to be. Savage, redskin, fodder for men. At the mercy of lost boys and pirates, your pickaninny princess bears a knife between her teeth, teaching white men what native women are not. Being drowned and rescued by colonizers, a play toy for their amusement. No, thank you. I reject you. Your story has already taken too many of our women. I kick your version out. Keep your Tiger Lily. She is not me or my sisters. She is not me or my aunties. She is not me or my mothers. She is not me or my daughters. She is not me or my grandmas. I reject your Tiger Lily and give you instead real Indian women who have better things to do than play with lost boys and pirates. We have better things to do than be defined by white men, especially white men with pens. Your character is flat, one-dimensional, barely human. Our women are complex, dynamic, fierce, and resilient. We are busy being mothers, sisters, aunties, grandmas. We are busy being friends, confidants, counselors, and clergy. We are busy advocating and empowering, creating and transforming. We are writing our own stories, creating our own art, dancing our own dances, singing our own songs, making our own magic. We are too busy healing our people and ourselves to keep your definition at the center. You, J.M. Barrie, with your hook and Peter Pan, can stay in Neverland.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You want to read any more?
Let's see, what else can I read you? How about my Frida poem?
Yeah, please.
Frida poem, and that'll be the last one.
Okay.
All right, Church of Frida. Because I told everyone on Instagram that this would be better than church. So this is my, this is my church poem. Church of Frida. I want to be priest of the Church of Frida.
Mm.
The homilies will be given in poems. The communion wafers will be pyramids of dark chocolate, and the blood of Christ will always be frothy white pulque. The altar will be covered in orchids, and the stained glass will be paintings by Frida. It will be a place where women are priests, men are dancers, and the children praise God with hand drums and gourd rattles. When the name of the holy is uttered, whether in exultation or in whispered longing, she will be called Tonantzin, Qualique, Xochiquetzal, Tosi, mother, grandmother, wild woman, serpent goddess. She will be Our Lady. The spirit of Frida will haunt the halls, make incense rise, scent the sacristy with roses, and cause bells to ring. One Sunday a month, the new Kahlo painting will be left at the church doors with a note, "Truth is love, Frida." All the Sundays in between, bottles of tequila will appear tied with red and green ribbon, nestled in piles of rose blossoms. On each bottle will be a note. See that Our Lady gets some, F. If you listen closely, you will hear her singing songs that last through the night, songs that could be coming from stars, songs that echo in your body and leave you longing for God, weeping on your knees in the dirt. When you sleep, she reaches into your chest, takes out your heart, drums a song on his soft flesh and replaces it before morning. This aching for God will not stop. She will keep you like this for years. The only thing left to do will be to write, paint, and dance.
Ooh la la. Oh, wow.
Yay.
That one was beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, to be continued.
Damn.
Thank you so much for joining La Palabra Poetry. This is Angelina Sainz. Thank you for letting me be your host this afternoon. And until next time, amiga. Mwah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Yay.